Our interesting one here. Ricky Hatton questions how much Tyson Fury has left after brutal Deontay Wilder trilogy. Okay, so I'm going to read a quote here from Ricky Hatton. This is an interview he gave with OLBG, and I'll quote Ricky Hatton directly here. He says, "You don't get a bigger fight. It's one of the biggest fights in British boxing history. It's a great clash of style." Just to interject, he's talking about Fury potentially fighting Anthony Joshua. Just so you know. He says, "Tyson is always in entertaining fights." Is he really? Some fights are entertaining, some certainly aren't. Klitschko is a prime example. Quote again. "Tyson is always in entertaining fights. So is Joshua. Some of his fights have been stinkers too. And it was only a couple of fights ago we thought his best days were behind him. But in his last couple of fights, he's looked really impressive. But Tyson, on the other hand, has been the best heavyweight for a good number of years. And I still have him as number one. But we just need to know what Tyson has left." Don't forget, it's not just the three Wilder fights. It's the lifestyle he's had as well, where he's had to lose 10 stone in the past, and what it does to the body, and then having them three wars with Deontay Wilder. I was going to actually interject there, but I'll finish the quote here. It says, "It might be too many miles on the clock for Tyson, or maybe he took him lightly because he didn't look in the best shape." I'm assuming he's making a reference there to the Francis Ngannou fight. He's not built like Anthony Joshua, but you can see that he's definitely been in better shape than last time out. He is. I'm referring to Francis Ngannou. But I hope we can get it on, as it would be a tragedy for British boxing if the biggest fight in British boxing history wasn't made because they couldn't make a deal. They'd be crying. That'd be a crying shame for our sport. I edge towards Tyson, but I'm not as confident as what I was. Those are the words of Ricky Hatton. And yeah, he's making some decent points there. Definitely some decent points. He's talking about Fury maybe not being the same, having miles on the clock stemming from the wars with Deontay Wilder. I disagree with that from Ricky Hatton. The only fight that I would look at where I could say that it did take a little bit of something out of Tyson Fury was probably the third fight. Because the first fight, it was a draw. I felt Tyson did enough to win. But apart from the 12th round, and yeah, he was dropped twice. The first knockdown in the 9th round, it wasn't a devastating knockdown or anything like that. Fury wasn't massively hurt. The one in the 12th round, yeah, that was a very, very heavy knockdown. How he got up from that, I do not know. But in terms of the fight as a whole, it wasn't a punishing fight for either guy. There wasn't a massive amount of clean power shots landed. It wasn't necessarily a punishing fight. The second fight for Tyson Fury, certainly, and it wasn't punishing at all. He dominated Deontay Wilder from start to finish. Wilder took a beating in that fight, but Fury didn't really take any beating. The third fight was the best out of the trilogy. By far and away, the third fight was the best. But it's also the fight where Fury, you could argue he shifted the most down. Now, you could also argue he didn't take that fight as serious as he did the other two. He took some shots in that fight from Deontay Wilder when Wilder was fresh. He was dropped, obviously, very heavily in the 4th or 5th round. He was obviously dropped twice. He ultimately came back to win the fight, but I don't agree with Ricky Hatton that those three fights would have taken much out of Tyson Fury. The third fight, yeah, definitely probably took a little bit out of him, but I think when he's talking about Tyson's lifestyle, that's the big one. As he says, there are too many miles on the clock. Talked about, having to come down and lose 10 stone. That was, I think, after he had that time out of the ring. Yeah, it's the lifestyle. He had 10 stone to lose in the past, and that does. Well, Ricky Hatton is someone who knows what that does to the body because he was famous for it throughout his career, and that did eventually end up catching up to Ricky Hatton. It will catch up to fighters like Hatton more, or quicker, I should say, than a Tyson Fury, for the simple reason is that Tyson Fury could balloon in between fights, but at the end of the day, he's only got to lose weight to a weight that he feels comfy at. He's not having to stick to a specific weight. Whereas those like Ricky Hatton, Billy Joe Saunders, when they would fluctuate in between fights and gain 20, 30, 40 pounds in some cases, they have to come down to an artificially low weight. They have to do that, whereas Tyson doesn't. So it does it's not something I like seeing. Any fighters do, fluctuate massively in between fights, but it won't come back to bite you as quick at heavyweight as it would at Ricky Hatton, who was really a 140 pounder, 147 pounder, or Billy Joe Saunders is another guy who does it 160 his weight. Realistically, 154 he should have started at and gone through the weights, but he didn't. With Tyson, Ricky Hatton has known Tyson for a long time, and Fury's been in his gym. They would know each other quite well. Obviously, both from Manchester. He does favour Tyson Fury to beat Anthony Joshua, but Ricky Hatton knows the lifestyle and what that can do to the body. And I've always said it with Tyson, that is eventually going to catch up with him. We may already starting to see it now, right? I don't think his legs have the same speed. I don't think he has them for the full 12 rounds, in a sense of I don't think he can just do the moving consistently like he did years gone by for the full 12 rounds like he used to. I just don't think that. I think that there's injuries there that, look, there's probably injuries for Usyk, probably injuries for Joshua that we're not privy to. Right? And I think a lot of that is stemming from the wear and tear on his body, from the training camps, from the training he does, from the the alcohol, the weight gain, all that kind of stuff. So when Ricky Hatton is talking about Tyson having miles on the clock and maybe not being at his best, I 100% agree. I don't think the Wilder fights play as much of a part in that as lifestyle has. I think lifestyle's been the key thing for Tyson Fury. It really is remarkable to think that, it is quite remarkable really when you think about it, that a guy who left the sport of boxing, was out of the sport of boxing for nearly 3 years, from 2015 to 2018, gained God knows how much weight in between. I mean, if you see the interviews with Tyson Fury, 2017 specifically, that year, he gained so much weight that his voice changed. You hear the way Tyson Fury talks now. Listen to him in 2017. He sounds like someone who constantly has phlegm in the back of his throat. He doesn't, his voice just sounds different. He gained that much weight. He was drinking a lot. God knows what else he was taking. For him to come back from all that, to lose all that weight, and within the space of, it was less than 2 years, to become champion again is quite remarkable. It really is. And the fact of the matter is that he's 35 years old. So he is 35 years old. He's going to do an undisputed fight with Alexander Usyk. And this is one thing that I don't like about this Alexander, not about the fight itself, is that everyone is talking about Fury Joshua. Look, I've been talking about it as well, but we need to remember, and I said this about the Day of Reckoning card, that Fury, I think, is not really so much doing it, but we kind of all are, and we probably really shouldn't. Where we're focusing on, if he beats Alexander Usyk, does he fight out? What happens here? What happens here? At the end of the day, Usyk is live. And it wouldn't shock me if Usyk is coming into this fight as the favourite. I haven't looked at the odds yet, but it wouldn't shock me if Usyk is the favourite. We need to focus on what's going to happen on February 17th before we talk about Joshua this and Fury this. Let's focus on Usyk. Because I think this fight is going to be tremendous. And make whoever you have favourite, go for it. Because I think it's going to be tremendous. I don't know who's going to win this fight. It's going to be an interesting one. But that's Ricky Hatton's thoughts on Tyson. Someone who has lived even when he was in his prime, wasn't living the cleanest lifestyle. It caught up on Ricky Hatton. He knows, speaking from experience. Does he foresee it happening to Tyson as well? Let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Peace.